Hi, welcome back. I'm Eric Kane, and I'm going to talk about Andor today. Holy shit, Andor is blowing my mind, man. It's such an interesting show. It's being showrun by Tony Gilroy, who was the screenwriter for Rogue One, which I still think is, it's not a perfect movie, but still the probably the best movie in the Star Wars Disney era. And I really like Gilroy's writing. He's joined by his brother Dan Gilroy on these last three episodes, which were directed by Susanna White. Andor takes a really interesting narrative structure. So there's 12 total episodes. Six of those are out, and these episodes are sort of broken into three episode arcs. So the first arc took place, the first three episodes was one sort of complete story. It has a different director for these three than for the last three. And we learned about Andor's backstory, his childhood on Kenari, and he gets in trouble when he kills these security guards. And there's the Corpo security pursuing him, investigating the murders, and eventually him meeting up with Luthen and getting the hell out of Ferrix in a big explosive finale, big mini finale, third episode finale. So then, in the next three episodes, episodes 4 through 6, we have another mini three-episode arc, culminating in yesterday's The Eye, which again was like a mini finale. In these episodes, we have Andor and this little rebel group led by a woman named Vel on the planet Aldani. They are planning a heist to steal the payroll for an entire Imperial sector, and they have to time it just right because there's this celestial event that happens every 3 years, just one night every 3 years, where all these crystals fly into the atmosphere and explode into this colorful, like, meteor shower. It's like a meteor shower meets a rainbow meets the Northern Lights. And during this brief period of time, if they can get this cargo ship filled with the payroll out of this base, which is built into a dam, if they can get it out, fly up during this event, they can escape and elude pursuing Imperial TIE fighters. Otherwise, they're going to get hunted down because they're just much too slow. And so this small crack team has to head in and pull off this heist. And, there's this suspicion around Andor, who calls himself Clem after his adoptive father. And we meet all these different characters. And what really works about this episode is that we get to know and really actually care about these characters, at least some of them, like Nemec, who's this idealistic revolutionary who's all about freedom and about, the philosophy behind freedom. He's not just a mercenary like Andor. And and then there's a guy named Skeen who is is more of a deserter, a criminal, very suspicious of Andor, but we learn later that's because he's trying to double cross everybody. There's an ex-stormtrooper. The leader is a chick named Vel, who we don't learn a whole lot about, but who is kind of a hard-nosed, tough, very bossy, but very she's doing the work too. All these characters are well drawn. We don't get to hang around them for long. It's only three episodes, but we get to know them pretty well. And those that we know less, we are curious about. There's Lieutenant Gorn, who's the inside guy, the guy that they're working with at the base, who has gone turncoat on the Empire after he fell in love with a local woman, and that went south. And the Empire here is presented as very, they're presented as like Nazi Germany, basically. They're very supremacist, right? They scoff at the locals. They call them stupid and smelly and easily manipulated. And you can really tell Lieutenant Gorn is just bristling at all this, and this is why he's helping the rebels plan this scheme. There's not a lot of time wasted here. The first two episodes move a little slow, but they're building the story. They're introducing the characters. They're setting up the heist. And then the third episode is the heist carried out. And it's one of the best heists in Star Wars history. And it's some great action. It's very tense. The bad guys can actually shoot and hit. The good guys have to stay in cover in the shootouts, right? It's a very economical show. The writing is tight. The pacing is very on point. When it seems slow at first as it's building, but then it culminates and it builds and it rises into this very intense, very epic conclusion. the escape after they load up the spaceship, the cargo ship, into that celestial, like colorful, freaking just it's like the Northern Lights on acid. It's crazy. It's really cool. And it's just beautifully shot. This whole show is just so beautifully shot. The cinematography may be the best I've seen in any Star Wars, period, including the films. There's these great panning shots of the Aldani Highlands and the people walking to their holy site. There's the aerial shots above Coruscant, and we see Coruscant itself, which we see as Luthen is this his alter ego, his other identity as a shopkeeper. Basically, he sells high end artifacts, and he meets with Mon Mothma in the upper tiers of Coruscant. Coruscant has many levels, and at the upper ones are where the very wealthy live, and so we get to see this sort of Art Deco world of Coruscant, and all of this the Art Deco world of this glitzy, glamorous city where the rich and powerful live, where the seat of the empire is, along with the dirty, grimy, imperial base and their sort of Nazi Germany looking uniforms. It all lends itself to feeling like a World War II drama, and I love that because really, Star Wars is a World War II story set in space. It's a space opera version of Indiana Jones in a lot of ways, right? The Nazis in Indiana Jones are very similar to the Empire in Star Wars, and that's because George Lucas was to some degree basing the Empire on Nazi Germany. So all of this I just love about Andor. We get an inside look on the ISB, the Imperial Security Bureau, and kind of their investigation. There's a investigator, and I'm forgetting her name. It's like Miro, I think. She's looking into all these unrelated events that she thinks are all linked to rebel activity, and they kind of dismiss her, like, you need to just toe the line, do what you're told, like, be quiet and look pretty. But by the end, after this heist is pulled off, they're on full high alarm. And so one thinks they probably will start taking her a little more seriously. I also like that nothing's being telegraphed so obviously, like in stupid Obi-Wan Kenobi, where we just knew that they were setting up what's her face? I can't even think of her name anymore. The Inquisitor chick. They were setting her up for a redemption arc. In that show called Obi-Wan Kenobi, he took a back seat to little bratty Leia, who was I love Princess Leia, but I hate little Princess Leia. She was terrible. He took a back seat to all these other characters in his own show. But in Andor, we get a lot of different characters, interesting characters, important characters, but he is always central to the show. And I think that's really important. If you're going to make a show called Andor, then don't give it to all the other characters. Make them supporting characters. I really think Obi-Wan was robbed. I think Boba Fett was robbed too. So yeah, anyways, I think it was just a terrific episode, or 3 episodes. I'm watching these 3 at a time. I really think Disney should have released them 3 at a time. I love weekly releases. It makes my life easier because I like to write about individual episodes. But I see these episodes as actually fitting into 3 episodes as one. It's a 3-in-1 thing. Like, I watched the first 3 that Disney released all at once, and it felt like one longer episode, or like a movie. And these next 3, also felt like they all tied together more than almost like it was one long episode chopped into 3 pieces. So I'm probably going to continue reviewing them that way because I don't think that they are intended to be standalone episodes. Like, the first episode is the beginning, the second episode is the middle, the third episode is the end, and they have to be sort of talked about in that fashion. So I think I'm going to review episodes 7, 8, and 9 all together as well. And again, they have a new writer and a new director for those 3 episodes. So, and then again for 10, 11, 12. And I think that's going to be the best way to discuss and think about this show rather than looking at it each episode at a time. So I like this structure. It's different. It's new. I haven't seen a lot of shows that do it this way, but I think it's kind of a cool approach. It gives the writers and directors a story to tell that's not, it's not just one episode in an arc. It's this whole arc. We had the whole the whole investigation arc at the beginning. We had this heist arc now, and we have whatever's coming next. And they all tie together, of course. It's not like they're anthological or something. It's still all Andor's story, right? Flowing through these other smaller stories. Almost like if you're reading a book and you have, a section of the book where the main character's in this town, and then the next section of the book he's, traveling here. It's a really interesting way to approach a TV show, and I really enjoy it. So let me know what you're thinking of Andor so far. I'm just totally, I honestly have no complaints. I just think it's fantastic. I mean, everything about it. So, a nice break from the Rings of Power. I will say that this and House of the Dragon are really redeeming television right now. It's funny too. Actually, the seventh episode of the Rings of Power, was called The Eye, and the sixth episode of Andor is called The Eye. And I know which one I'm going to be rewatching. Although I'm in no hurry to rewatch anything right now. There's too much TV on. So, anyways, thank you for watching my YouTube channel, and feel free to like and subscribe if it suits your fancy. And peace.